somebody would ask you, what are some things to describe yourself? Be honest, how many people would actually include what kind of spiritual being they are? What kind of spiritual journey they're on? Where they're at in their spiritual journey? 0? Likely? Yeah, nobody's going to mention that. And that's why I want to remind you that you are the power, and the power is within you and your perception. And it's about looking within and doing that work within. Because for us to be conscious and aware, we have to learn how to be our authentic selves. And that is all the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, the positive, the negative, however you want to phrase it, and everything in between. Loving it, knowing it, without judgment. Because the world needs the real you. What is the real you and where is it? So because, now this is, hopefully what's clear in my head comes out. I don't know, we'll see. Because the reality that you experience is actually a reality that is rendered into an output, processed through your system. Okay, I see a few head nods, that's good, thank you. Because not everything that is present will be in your output. It's going to depend on your awareness and your openness and the work that you have done spiritually to be able to see more and more of the big picture. And when I mean, like, I'm even talking your whole body, your nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord, all the tendrils that go out from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes and tip of your fingers, every cell in your body, they are receivers. And they are also selectors, okay? And it weeds through things. And we have been programmed to take the stuff that we see and compress it down. We put a meaning to it, make it a story, and then attach it to something even semi-similar in our collective of stories. This is not necessarily reality or healthy. Okay? So what we want to learn how to do is to expand. We want to do what we need to do to our system so that we can see the whole reality, that we can take it all in to where we can see past the screen. Because think about this. When you open a device, whether it's your phone, the TV, your PC, a tablet, you're looking at a flat screen. There's only so much you're going to see and hear from that, no matter what. Even you sitting here, there's only so much that you're going to see and hear. And some of it's, you know, we need to filter out, like the birds or the music in the hallway or something like that. But there's lots of things that we are filtering out because we're only seeing a bandwidth. The only reason you see me up here is because there's tons of light bouncing off of all kinds of things, and you're like, your brain registers it going, yep, that's Lena's hair, that's Lena's face, that's Lena's voice, that's one of Lena's dresses, that's Lena, okay. I'm here to hear a message. That's why you are processing it through a filter. And that flat screen only gives you so much. And it makes us feel like we're complete and we're functioning. But how many times have you watched a movie and then you went back and rewatched it and you catch so much more? Why? Because a different perspective. You grew, you expanded, you learned, and you were more open to even more of it. That's the same way it is with life. So don't be deluded that you're getting the full picture by that flat screen, because there's so much more going on, as Laurel said last week, in the invisible. I laughed when she gave her message too. I'm like, oh, I have to change a few things. So, our system is taking in stuff and it's organizing it and it's sorting it and it's stabilizing or finding things that we are comfortable with. stabilize so that we can process and we can do this. And think about it. How often, because you do this all the time, but do you think about it? Every place, person, encounter you have, you are sensing, watching small shifts of expression, whether it be body language, facial expressions, the energy. Even if you're concentrating on the words that are being said, you're sensing all of that stuff. And before you start to attach language and labels and meanings to it, that's your real reality. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're sorting, selecting, and organizing to navigate. Think about the horses. You all have seen horses that are pulling carriages. What do they do to them? They put blinders on, right? So that they are restricted at what they see and what they're allowed to see. And even if they try to move their head side to side, they're still restricted in a very mono way. Now, does that mean that everything else, the lights, the bells, the whistles, the buildings, the sidewalks, the people, are not there? They are. And there's even more than that. If we open ourselves up to it, that reality will allow us to receive more, organize more. Because how many things in life do we walk through with our blinders on? And is that really what we want to do, is restrict our expansion? So when we do our work, we pick up on more details. Things are clearer. And we will actually become less overwhelmed. And that's what I want to reassure you, because sometimes it's overload, it's overstimulation. You feel a little overwhelmed. But the more you do this, the more refinement you will add to your life. And there's two things that happen. When you encounter something new, the first thing you do is you want to interpret it. And when you interpret it, that's when you're assigning a meaning to it. And that comes from your programming and your story. Again, not always the full reality, it's a partial reality, maybe even not that. What we want to try to get to the point of doing is getting to the point where we have direct perception. And this is where we just allow ourselves to be somewhere and feel and listen and be present and just soak it up and observe it, because that's actually what's going on. When you can expand your awareness and not interrupt it with all that interpretation of story, just being, that allows you to respond better in the right now. So early on in the rental here, when for me establishing relationship was real important, I came in one day and there was the bottom strip in one of these panels wasn't there. And I talked to the people next door, and I talked to the room, because I didn't know what that was going to do to sound and stuff. And we all found a good, happy place, and we were fine. Sunday came and went. I don't know how or when, but the lady that rented the rooms called me and said, "We need to have a meeting." Don't you just love this? We need to talk. Have a conversation. I'm like, okay. So I prayed, I meditated. I brought it in, I figured out what I needed to do. I came and we sat down with a manager, supervisor guy, which that even made me more nervous. But anyway, so she goes on this monologue of what a problem this was and how we probably needed to rent a whole other room, and maybe we shouldn't be using our own equipment, we should use there, which is more money, more money, more money. So I just listened, and then I said, "Is this the first time this has ever happened?" "Yeah, it is." "Okay. Did we manage the problem okay on that Sunday? Everything was all right?" "Yeah." And I said, "And by the way," and I picked up my phone because we videotape, and I said, "When we turn down the lights for the meditation, you can see where the wall was inappropriately installed." And the manager's like, "Oh, we're done here." Gets up, says a few things, we say a few funny things, and we go on. Now, what did I compress out of that? I still had a story to that and had some anxiety because I was trying to maintain relationships and stuff. So here, years later, you all probably don't even know this. A few weeks ago we came in, and guess what? Down there, the little strip was gone. So, here's Lena. I'm trying to practice what I preach. Trying not to let that anxiety from that old story, from that old programming, but I still had to run to the front desk and tell the guy about it and make sure he knew and see if it was going to interfere or whatever like that. And I must have been showing more anxiety than I was trying not to. Because I still was operating from some of that old stuff. Now, you know what? Everything went fine. Nobody even had any issues. You all probably didn't even know that problem existed, besides maybe like me and Cassidy. So anyway, and a few that... Anyway, after it was all over with though, I went to the front desk guy, and he's really cool. He's the new room rental. And I said, thank you. And he goes, oh, for what? And I said, because us communicating and being clear and detailed and sensing each other's needs today went totally different. And you allowed me and helped me to reset my point. Do you see that? Do you see how this falls into place in like real life so that we don't repeat patterns? And ultimately, that's what we want to do, is come to a place of awareness and consciousness that we expand and we don't repeat those patterns. Because I was better, but I still was anxious, and he knew it. He even gave us meeting room 1 free for the day. So I guess it worked out. It still worked out good. Okay, so our goal here is to just be and observe and work on whatever modality works best for you. I don't care whether it's meditation, breathing, counting, all your little tricks that are up your sleeve that you've learned, and I know you all have lots of them, is to have that stable system that you can trust, you can depend on, you have faith, and knowing that everything is going to work out okay. It's a total different operating system. And what this allows us to do is move through things calmer, more intellectually, before we start mucking it up with our story and our meetings and repeating those patterns. So a little bit more of how this looks in life. So whether or not you are on this extreme, that you make spreadsheets and goals numbered, bullet points, whatever you do, all the way down to some of us that are in our head dreaming and using our imagination, or wherever you're at on that spectrum, all of us do planning, right? All of us think about what our school plan is going to be, what our career path is going to be, you know, what our housing situation, what kind of things we want and like and dream about, and the job and the relationships. And some of us actually are smart enough to think about retirement and investment better than others. And then what happens? What is it saying? We make plans and then God laughs. Because think about it. You know, you get out of school and you either can't find a job that fits your degree, or you actually get into that degree and you're like, oh, this is not what I thought it was, and you have to change it, or kind of go in a different direction. Or your company downsizes, or you get fired and then you have a job and you got to find another one, and that affects your relationship. Are you guys going to be able to make it through? Is this going to be a divorce? Is that going to cost the house that you thought so much about? You get my point? How much time do we spend curating these things in our life that feel so solid? They're not. They're liquid. They can slip through your fingers in a heartbeat. They are gone like that. They change like that. And I think people think spirituality is liquid because it flows and it's flexible. But if anything you get out of today's talk, the one solid thing in your life, in your human incarnation, is divine energy. It is God. It is whatever it is for you. It is always there. It is always in you. It is always present, and it is always stable. Even if you're not feeling it, you could be having a block. You could be having a little turning away from it. There's lots of things that could happen, but that's there no matter what. And how much time do we spend curating that? We spend all this time on our physical life. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that at all. You should, you want to, okay? I wish I would have thought about my retirement a little bit longer before I got to this very young age that I am. Because, remember at the very end of my talk last time, how I mentioned that we all can say the same, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but too much we look at those as two separate things. And yes, your spiritual being is so massive, beautiful, and phenomenal. It's never all going to be in this dense incarnation. However, we want to try to integrate and weave those two things much more than what we try to. Because think about it. When you're going through the house, the job, the wife, the husband, whatever, all that kind of stuff, when you're filtering it through the human filter, that's pretty scary. That causes a lot of anxiety. That's what leads to depression and all kinds of other things. What if we shifted that, spent more time on our spiritual selves, that power within, and then when those kind of things happened, we filtered it through our spiritual filter. And I'm probably not going to do this justice, but there was this thing I saw the other day that said, we're just like a bag of skin and bones and muscles and stuff, and we're made of stardust, and we're flying around on a rock, you know, and all this kind of stuff. What is there to be afraid of? Seriously. We live in an unbelievably massive, magnificent existence, and we are magnificent as spiritual beings truly living that human experience. Okay, so who do we really want to be? Do we want to just be filtering through human, or we just want to be filtering through the spirit? Or maybe a combination of the both, so that we can enjoy more. Because the key here is, this is where our inner power is. We get all this distortion and disruption from the outside world, and even further out in true, full expansion is the phenomena. And when we make our alignment with Source, all this distortion takes care of itself. Namaste.
Namaste.